Hi guys, this is Catherine from Permission to Stutter. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about mindfulness and kind of show how this practice kind of perfectly relates to the process of accepting your stuttering and creating an easier, more efficient stuttering pattern. So mindfulness is, to quote John Kabat-Zinn, who's written a lot on this topic, it's moment to moment, non-judgmental awareness cultivated by paying attention in the present moment to things we usually disregard. So basically, paying attention to what's happening right now. And oftentimes you think of mindfulness in terms of formal meditation. So like sitting with your breath and paying attention to something specific like that, like your breath. And this kind of single pointedness anchors us to the present. And mindfulness, it isn't actually meant to relax you, but to make you more awake and more aware. It isn't meant to solve your problems, but to help you see your problems clearly so that you can then decide to respond to them in a more skillful way. This is exactly how I view a lot of people's paths towards making stuttering related change too. First, you kind of learn what you do currently while you stutter, and then you can choose to respond to stuttering differently. So let's dive in and look at how the pillars of mindfulness could easily be principles of stuttering therapy. So the first pillar here is beginner's mind, and it invites us to enter each situation as if it's the first time, without prior knowledge affecting how we're responding, because each situation is brand new. It's the first time we're ever in this specific situation. And I think this really relates to stuttering because oftentimes we react to moments of stuttering in the same, habitual way, using tricks and secondary behaviors that help us through these moments of stuttering, but aren't actually helping us. These, blinking, maybe jerking our jaw, jerking our head, tapping, looking away, averting eye contact. And all of these things, I think are natural responses to stuttering. When you're stuck in any situation, you push, and try to get unstuck. But they don't have to happen. They make our pattern unnecessarily tense. They make stuttering an exhausting experience, but they don't have to happen. We could respond to moments of stuttering individually and differently. We could sit in that moment of stuttering as long as our body wants to and openly stutter, as opposed to trying to push our way out and causing tension. So another pillar of mindfulness is this non-striving, which is kind of a call to do less and be more. And in stuttering too, our striving to be fluent causes tension in individual moments of stuttering, causes us to block. This trying to push words out fluently causes a lot of tension. And paradoxically, the less we try and strive to be fluent, the less tension we have in our patterns typically. Another principle of mindfulness is letting go, and this is letting go of thoughts of the past and future and judgments. And in stuttering therapy, I think there's a lot of letting go of all sorts of things. I think one of the biggest things is letting go of our perceived control over these moments of stuttering. So again, kind of letting go of these secondary behaviors, these tricks that we use to try and escape these moments of stuttering, get out of them, which are actually creating tension, and just kind of allowing stuttering to happen. And also letting go of the view of ourselves as fluent people, and that can be really difficult to kind of take on this new role of a person who stutters and kind of let go of this fantasy role that we were pretending to have of a fluent person, or I've heard a fluent person who sometimes stutters. Getting rid of that role and taking on this role of a person who stutters. Another pillar of mindfulness is trusting yourself and intuition. Mindfulness is big on honoring your intuition and taking responsibility for yourself. And in stuttering too, trusting ourselves that we can get out of this moment of stuttering, that we don't have to push and struggle out of it. Trusting that we can stay in the moment like that. I created voluntary stutters and they turned real. Just staying in that moment as long as we need to, as opposed to pushing out. Trusting that our body's going to get us through. We're not going to be stuck there forever. Also, taking responsibility for stuttering in general, like not thinking of stuttering as something happening to us, but something that we are doing. And that also can help us kind of realize that, it's something we're doing, so it's something we can respond in a different way. Something that we can change our responses to. And of course, acceptance. That's one of the big pillars of mindfulness, probably one that you already knew about. And I think acceptance in stuttering therapy is people are kind of wary of talking about it because it sounds like you're being complacent, you're kind of throwing in the towel. And I think that's the furthest thing from the truth. I mean, accepting your stuttering is a really active process. Kind of, as I keep saying, you have this period of self-monitoring to see what you're actually doing during stuttering. Then you make the choice to change your response to stuttering. And then you kind of strip away all these maladaptive behaviors, these things that are getting in the way of you communicating, these things that are causing discomfort and inefficiency in your stuttering pattern, and you choose to accept stuttering and openly stutter as opposed to using these tricks during moments of stuttering. This results in an easier, less tense, more efficient pattern. I feel like I keep saying that, but yeah, accepting your stuttering is super active. It's not just a passive, complacent sort of response. The exact opposite, in fact. So the last pillar of mindfulness is non-judgment, and kind of to be aware of things happening without qualifying them. And in stuttering too, there's been a move towards kind of thinking of stuttering as just a difference as opposed to disability. So just like the color of your hair or any other physical characteristic, or I guess personality character, any sort of character trait, just a difference, not something that's necessarily wrong with you. And I think also early on in the stuttering, in your stuttering journey, there's a period of desensitization that you go through when you maybe are openly stuttering a bit more. At first it's going to sound like ugly to your ears. You don't want to hear it. You'll probably go through a period where you become desensitized to some degree to your stuttering, so you don't have as strong of a negative reaction to stuttering. It's a more neutral reaction. And I think also when you're further on in your stuttering journey, I know for me, I went through a period where I would qualify all of my stutters, where I'd be like, okay, this was a good one because it was easy and there were no secondaries. This was a bad one because it was tense. But I think, at the end of the day, there aren't good and bad stutters. It doesn't really matter how you're getting things out, as long as you're saying what you want to say, you're communicating effectively. It's not totally exhausting to communicate. As long as these things are true, it doesn't really matter what your stuttering is like. And some secondaries, or a lot of secondaries, are totally fine as long as stuttering isn't interfering with your life. So, in conclusion, I think that the principles of mindfulness, like non-striving, acceptance, letting go, they all fit in with stuttering therapy so perfectly, because by accepting ourselves as people who stutter and allowing stuttering to happen, as opposed to striving to be fluent or to hide or escape from stuttering, our pattern is less tense and exhausting. We have less fear that stuttering will happen, and we can kind of get on with our lives. We don't have to think about it all the time. It's just a part of us, not necessarily something wrong with us. So with that, stutter beautifully, and I'll see you next time.